Welcome, seekers of truth and wisdom, to Soul Wisdom Transitions, where we embrace the magical dance between mind, body, and spirit. This sacred space is dedicated to guiding you on a soulful journey of self-discovery, personal growth, and spiritual awakening. Get ready to harness the power within as we embark on a transformational odyssey towards a more enlightened and fulfilling experience. Open your hearts and minds, for the wisdom of the soul awaits. Let the transition begin. I am your host, Terry, and today we're going to take a look at life transitions and how we can better navigate them. So I was out on my walk this morning, and my soul wisdom came through with the quote of, "Transitions are woven into the very fabric of our life path." And that is so very true, because transitions happen all the time. There's really nothing we can do to avoid them. So in my experience, it's been, do I choose to react to whatever the transition is? Or can I take a breath, take a moment, and respond to get a better outcome for whatever that transition is? So the definition of life transitions, they refer to significant changes or shifts that individuals experience throughout their lives. These transitions can occur in various aspects of life, including personal, professional, relationships, and life stages. Some examples of life transitions include graduating from school, starting or ending a job, getting married, having children, relocating to a new place, retiring, dealing with loss or bereavement, and many, many others. Life transitions often entail adjustments and adaptations to new circumstances, roles, and identities. They can bring about a range of emotions, challenges, and opportunities if you look hard enough, as individuals navigate through these transformative periods. So we all have transitions that we go through, and some of them are relatively minor, and some of them are pretty profound. A recent transition that I went through was when my dad passed. My mom had passed, almost 30 years ago. So now that Dad passed, what I came to realize was that there has always been at least one generation above me that, in my mind, and I'm using air quotes here, protected me from my mortality. So now that Dad was gone, I no longer had that generational buffer. And I had to deal with that. It was kind of like, oh, crap. I'm the next generation. And I thought I had come to terms with that. And yet, in just the past month, my cousin passed away. A lovely colleague of my equine Gestalt coaching program passed away. And just yesterday, I found out that a colleague and a friend who I had worked with for many years at the Walt Disney Company just passed away. And these are all my peers. So it's kind of, it gave me pause to realize that, okay, let's look at that. That's a transition that hopefully not anytime soon, but is upcoming for me. Now, recently my husband retired. We had to deal with that transition. And as I mentioned, graduating from school. Okay, you're out of college. Now you have to get a job. That's a transition. Or, you've met the love of your life and you're going to get married. That's a transition. And, they usually are saying, you never do the big three at the same time, which I believe is changing jobs, changing relationships, and moving. So I did 2 of 3 at the same time. I did a change in job and I moved when I went from New York to California to work at the Walt Disney Company. Luckily, the relationship came with me, so that was that was a plus. But transitions are something we have to deal with. There's no getting around it. As I said, they are woven into the fabric of our existence, and it's a matter of how we choose to accept them. And they can create both opportunities and challenges. It depends on how you choose to respond. So, you have a transition and you can say, oh my God, this is terrible. I'm going to lose my job. What am I going to do? And another wise person, Newt Scamander from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, his phrase was, I never worry. Worry just means you may have to suffer twice. So why worry? If it turns out to be awful, all right, then you can deal with it. That's only one thing you have to worry about. That's only one thing you have to deal with. If you worry about it and then it happens, then you have 2 things that you're suffering twice, and there's no need to do that. So going through your transitions, what I have found is taking a moment and really just tapping into your soul wisdom. Your soul wisdom, if you trust it, and you should, your soul wisdom will always guide you in the right direction for you. It may not be the easiest thing to do, but it will always be the right thing to do for you. When I was working in New York, I worked for a litigation attorney, and he was offered the opportunity to become general counsel at the Walt Disney Company. And one of the things he asked me was, are you part of my relocation package? And I thought for just a moment, and my entire gut reaction was, of course. So that's what I said. I said, of course. And he said, well, don't you need to check with your family or with your boyfriend? And I said, well, I'll check with them, but I'm going. It wasn't even anything I needed to think about. Now, once the realization of what I was doing set in, then I really had to think about it. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm moving to, all the way across the country. I don't know anybody. I don't know what the job is going to be like. I don't know where I'm going to live. And just packing up my apartment. Because I was part of his relocation package, the Walt Disney Company paid for my relocation. So a moving van showed up and they started packing my apartment. A flatbed truck showed up and loaded up my car and drove off with it. And I found myself sitting in the airport with a one-way ticket to Los Angeles. And it was overwhelming, it was daunting, but it was also exciting. And I trusted my soul wisdom that this was the best decision for me. So if you can trust your soul wisdom, you'll always end up with the best decision for you. It may not seem like it at the time, but trust your gut. Trust that little voice inside you. And there are strategies for navigating this. As I said, trust your inner guidance, and it's okay if you think you've made the right decision and then you have a breakdown and, curling up in a ball and crying or shaking or, oh my God, what am I doing? That's okay. Just give yourself time to process through that. Then take a moment, make yourself a cup of tea or something without caffeine and sip on it and just sit with it and just say, okay, what is the story I'm telling myself about why this is not going to work? Or what is the story I'm telling myself about this that tells me it's I'm doing the wrong thing? So it could be that you were told when you were younger that, you're never going to be good enough on your own. You're going to have to rely on other people. Don't step out with no plan. You must have a plan. You must be organized. And sometimes that just doesn't work. So, for instance, the way I approach my podcasts is I have topics that I want to discuss over, subsequent episodes. I get, I connect, I use AI, which I never thought I would, but I use AI to help me with bullet points on what I want to talk about. And then I wing it. So I have a piece of paper here with some bullet points on it, but I don't have a script that I'm going from. I don't need that much planning. I trust my intuition, and I trust in the downloads and the messages from Spirit that I'm going to give you the message that you need to hear. So, planning and organizing is all right. What I used to tell friends who were getting married were, look, you've made all these arrangements, you've made all these plans, something is going to go wrong, and you're probably the only one that's going to know it. So let it go, enjoy your day, nobody's going to care as long as you are enjoying your moment. And again, getting married is one of the big three in transitions. So, cut yourself some slack and just say, oh, well, that didn't work. Or gee, in my case, our wedding balloons were supposed to be black, white, and royal blue. Well, there were no royal blue balloons. So, too late to do anything about it now. My husband and I were the only ones that knew that there were supposed to be royal blue balloons, and black and white worked fine. So it's just how you respond to the transitions in your life. And, death, as I mentioned earlier, death and bereavement, I've kind of been going through that now in the last couple of weeks. In my opinion, way too often. But what I've decided to do is my first book, Finding True Purpose, was my inspirational memoir. And what I'm writing now is the final chapter. Or is it? And I spoke with my writing coach and I said, I'm not even sure what genre this is going to land in, because it's kind of a fictional memoir. And what I'm doing is I'm writing out the script for how I want my few remaining chapters to look like. What is that going to look like? The book opens up with me waking up and realizing that I'm in an assisted living facility. And then I'm going to take you back to how I got there. But it hasn't happened. It may not happen this way. But this is how I'm dealing with how I want to script the remaining time of my life. And what you need to do is accept your transitions, know they're going to happen, and just, if you can, why not be curious? That's a favorite expression that I use for my clients and say, I said, be curious. What does that mean? What is that transition? What is it, so you just lost your job. Be curious. Is there something you would rather be doing? Is this an opportunity to actually do what you were meant to do? Another favorite saying is, maybe we have to let go of who we think we are supposed to be in order to become who we are actually meant to be. And that's what happened to me. I had to let go of working at a very high level, high stress, top of the castle job at the Walt Disney Company. And now I do life coaching, partnering with my horses on a 6-acre ranch in Colorado. That was a huge transition. And it took me a while to get there. But I didn't, I left Disney of my own accord. I resigned and knew that it was time for me to move on, even though I didn't know what that was going to be. You just trust your soul wisdom, and everything in my soul wisdom was saying, you don't belong here anymore. It's time to move on. So I did. And I went from a, 6-figure salary to four figures. And it was like, oh, okay, well, this is different. But I trusted that the journey was going to take me where I needed to be. And that was my transition. And, ups and downs, roller coaster ride, bumps, brick walls, literally, and was able to be in a better place when I had another transition of my traumatic brain injury. And that gave me more time during my recovery to explore and figure out, okay, this is a transition. Am I going to accept the doctor's diagnosis of being broken now for the rest of my life? I was 52 at the time. It was like, oh, heck no. No. What the doctor just told me is not true. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to give my brain time to heal. And, there were again, ups and downs and bumps and things, and just kind of like, wow, that does not work anymore. So what am I going to do different? So I was able to be curious and to explore the rehabilitation process. So transitions present, and some of you may not agree with me here, but transitions present the opportunity to dig deeper into who you really are and who you are supposed to be. And transitions are scary. Absolutely. As I was sitting in the airport with a one-way ticket, it was like, all I could do to not hyperventilate and say, holy crap, what am I doing? I can't believe I'm doing this. But it was also a huge and exciting adventure. And I spent 13 years at Disney and more than 20 years out in California. And it worked out amazing because I took a chance. I listened to my inner soul, my wisdom, and I took a chance. And sometimes you just have to do that. So sometimes, transitions can be very difficult. When I lost both my parents, and we all go through that. We will all lose our parents. And it's, it gives you the opportunity to cherish the time you have with your partner in life, with your kids, with friends and other relatives. So, it's the fear of the unknown that keeps us from listening to our soul wisdom. And if you can just take a moment, acknowledge the fear and acknowledge the unknown, and give yourself a chance to be okay with that. And trust your soul wisdom. It will always give you the right path for you, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time, because the right path is not always the easiest path. During the pandemic, I took the easy path, and even after the pandemic and things started opening up, I gave myself way too much permission to not. And I mean to not do things, to not socialize, to not network, to not. It was easy to not. And I had to take a moment and, finally sit back and say, okay, what's the story? What's the story here? And, taking the opportunity to explore that, made me just reevaluate a few things and work on getting better at relationships I already have, and looking into taking a class and looking into starting this podcast and reaching out to more people. And I'm thrilled to say that some of the reviews on the podcast, I thank you for that, but some of the reviews are from people I don't know, which is so exciting. I'm reaching people that I don't actually know, and I'm having fun with this, which is huge. And when I first started, I don't know if you listened to my first episode, I'm nowhere near as comfortable as I am now. I have a fabulous team that supports me. So thank you, Ginny Media. And today's engineer is Aziz, who I have worked with in the past and who is fabulous. But that was a transition, putting myself out there into the social media area and podcasting, with the stories that I have told myself over the course of my lifetime of who wants to hear from you, you're never good enough, nobody cares. I'm sure it's a familiar refrain for some of you, but, just feel the fear and do it anyway. And that's how you grow. And even if you fail, oh my God, you had the courage to try. And that's what counts. So trust your inner wisdom. Transitions happen all the time. They were going to happen through over the course of our everyday existence. And it's how you respond to them that'll get you the outcome that you want. So before we wrap up this episode, I will do my usual fan of the week from one of my fabulous reviews, and this is from Aloha Arlene. So actually I know Arlene. She lives in Hawaii. She is a fabulous massage therapist, and I was a colleague of hers back in California in between my transitioning from corporate to life coach. What Arlene has to share is great hearing Terry and sharing how to connect with your higher self, allowing the space to look within. So thank you, Arlene. And if you want to be a Soul Wisdom Transitions Fan of the Week, please go on to Apple Podcasts and leave a review so I can add you to our Fan of the Week list. And accept transitions in our lives. Don't fight it. It's going to happen. Just choose how you respond. So that concludes our episode for today. I want to thank you for tuning into Soul Wisdom Transitions. Remember, as you navigate through the twists and turns of life's transitions, trust in the wisdom of your soul. Embrace the lessons, honor the growth, and always remain open to the guidance that comes your way. Until we reconvene for our next soul-stirring conversation, may you continue to blossom into the highest version of yourself. Embrace the beauty of your journey and always be guided by the whispers of your soul. Thank you.